Welcome to another episode of Behind the Strategy, a place for conversations, a place to find out and reveal all. What is behind your strategy?
And today I am talking with the most wonderful woman ever. Honestly, if you've never had a conversation with this woman, if you've never met Becky, you really should. Ask yourself, why haven't you? Becky, thank you. Welcome to Behind the Strategy.
You are welcome. I'm actually really excited to really dig into everything and
yeah, because the thing is, let's just take this back step. We're going to be talking about showing up as women, right? And this encompasses everybody, to be fair, because it's about, men, specifically women, because that's whom you work with mostly. But it also does include, men listening as well, because they have to show up and feel the same things. So please know that we will be talking about it from that perspective. But honestly, what we're going to be talking about, and I know this about you, is incredibly inclusive. And I really want us to help dispel some of the myths around that, because it isn't only women who have fears about, let's just take it back to the right beginning. So we both did our hair before we came here. Did you do your hair before you came into the
I did.
Did you put on some makeup?
I did.
Me too. I put on, I thought, do you know what? I thought sometimes I think, I need some more. And other times I think, I'm going to put on the basics. So I'll tell you why I put makeup on if you tell me why you put makeup on, right? Because this is important, isn't it? I put makeup on for two reasons. One is I can't bear to keep looking at myself thinking, oh my God, I'm getting older. It's a fear, right? Yeah. I know that if I'm tired, I get bags under my eyes, and sometimes, I don't look as awake and healthy. That's a given. But as I'm getting older, I have more bags under my eyes anyway, right? And I don't have a thing about it. It's just, it's not an issue. But it is when we look in the mirror and I suddenly go, oh, crikey. And then I go, oh, and I walk away. And the clincher is when somebody says to me, oh, you look really tired, are you okay? And I want to say, yeah, I'm fine, thanks. I'm just old. So that's the first reason.
Yeah. It's weird when people do that, seriously.
Yeah. Define that people feel the need to comment, that people do need to feel the need to comment, don't they, on what we look like. And the other reason is because, so that's the first reason I want to look. So when I'm looking at myself, while we're recording, when we're filming, when I look back at it, I just wanted to be able to look back and not have just a simple bit of concealer, maybe just something so that when I look back, it doesn't invite those comments. Because, and I'm going to ask you to share why you put makeup on it in just a moment. Just want to say, it's all very well saying that other people's comments don't matter, but I'm calling BS on that because they do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So why did you put makeup on today?
So for me, it's quite different than just how I see myself in the mirror. It used to be a very long time ago. It used to be because I had to work on a lot of body confidence and appearance confidence. For over the years, makeup for me became a way to tap into energy that typically I wouldn't feel if I was sat in my pajamas. And I'm not gonna lie, when I wake up in the morning, my hair looks like I am some human form of a cockatoo. My hair is here. It has to be styled, so I can't escape that. But with the makeup, it allows me to decide what energy I want to run the day in. So with this, there's a certain energy that you embody. So for me, when I'm putting the makeup on, not only is it self-care, it's taking time for me to be with my thoughts, to think about where maybe if I feel nervous, maybe if I'm kind of in my own head about, I wonder what Kate's going to ask, or is she going to ask something that I don't really want to talk about, how am I going to respond? Because we all do. All good and well having confidence, but we still have those thinking patterns. So for me, putting the makeup on is preparing myself for this. It's the self-care, it's having that time to be with myself, but it's also about creating the kind of energy within myself that I want to have. So for me, it's more like an embodiment thing rather than around a way that I want people to see me. in terms of how I
Yeah.
look.
Now, that makes perfect sense to me because I have two daughters. They're adults now. But my youngest daughter has the most amazing makeup techniques. She's a goth. She has explored and discovered all sorts of ways of doing makeup. And oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Honestly, it's absolutely stunning. The way that she can apply it, the way that she can create it. And it's to do with mood, and she does it for herself. But she also does it because it's fun as well.
Yes.
You know, having a different look. And when I actually look back on myself as a teenager, right, where we all are trying to form our identities mostly, aren't we? We want to belong. It's that sense of feeling that we want to belong, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So but also at the same time, some of us wanted to stand out. We wanted to be noticed, and some people just wanted to belong and didn't want to be noticed. So for whatever reason, we quite often aligned and identified ourselves through whatever was trend at the time. So it tends to quite often be music, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think it could be specific artists online, like influencers, because they come up with comedians. But I wanted to show the world who I was affiliated with, who I belonged to, by how I dressed and how I used my makeup.
Yeah.
Did you experience that? And also, you've got children of different ages, and you work with women who have kids of different ages. Is that a fairly common thing that you've noticed?
I definitely do. So, the women that I work with, in my experience, they've gone through almost like different layers and stages throughout her life, and whatever space she is in at that time is represented in the way that she's showing up, is represented in the way she's dressing herself, with makeup, with style, with that expression. So I see it in terms of a bit like a superpower, like being a bit of a chameleon, which interestingly, that is part of my human design. Being a chameleon is being able to shift as you're evolving and going through life, and choosing how you want to express that. So I went through my goth stage. I went through my gothic stage quite late. So probably the last 5 years, it took me a while to catch up.
Yeah.
So for in this instance, it's really just experimenting with where your mood is at, experimenting with what you feel you connect with at that particular stage in your life. So if you connect with the dark, mysterious, gothic, dark fantasy, then you can see how that connection is made then by the style choices that we choose in how we want to express that. So as you can see on the screen, I'm covered in tattoos. I have a very specific style, but it's not connected to anything. It's more connected to where I'm at in this particular stage of my life and the way that I want the world to see. I can be feminine, I can be gothic, I can be, I guess, have the resting bitch face. It's quite scary. But I think the more that everybody, women, guys particularly, I have something I'd love to share on this topic as well, which will really resonate with the men in the audience. I think the more that you allow yourself to experiment, the more that you will connect with the way you want to express things, what communities and, the whole, where we belong. The more that you can experiment, the more that you start to realize actually where it is that you want to fit in. So it's almost like this trial and error, instead of just following fashion trends, because I feel like with trends, it is following things. It's not giving yourself that chance to explore, to experiment, to find what really is your thing. So what I wanted to share with the guys is, I know somebody, I won't drop who it is, but protect them a little bit. I know somebody who's a guy. He's late 30s, and for the longest time wore t-shirts, tracky bottoms, would wear jeans if he was going out, and that was about it. And recently we'd had a conversation around self-esteem, because we know self-esteem is a difficult topic for a lot of guys that they generally don't want to get into. And I think this is where it ties in the work that I do with women that allows for it to feel safe for the guys as well. So the conversation we'd had was how he felt he didn't dress his age.
That's interesting. That's a very interesting one. Yeah.
So he didn't feel like he dressed appropriately for his age. And I said, please don't go to suits and all the rest. Like, I'm a big believer in you're as old as you feel. So if you want to wear, like, I wear stuff that typically, like, people close to me say, you know, you're not a teenager anymore, Beck. I'm like, I'll dress how I want, thanks. While I've got it, I will. So we went through that whole conversation and we sat together and I said, how do you want to represent yourself? What is it that you want to wear for you? Yeah. And he'd never really sat and asked himself what his particular style was. It'd always gone for the cheapest, the easiest to source. It didn't really matter.
Yeah, many of us do at different phases. We do that. Yeah, practical. Yeah.
He had shared with me that he'd been in this stage for so long that he didn't actually know what he liked, what style he liked on himself. So I put the suggestion out there, and it's a really good suggestion for those of you in the audience as well, is to pick a store that sells clothes and just start screen grabbing different things that you think you might like. Once they're in your basket, go through. I mean, I do this with my clothes shopping as well. Once they're all in your basket and your eyes pop out of your head about how much that basket's going to cost, you can start eliminating, where you're like, I like it, but I'm not really sure. And when you start removing things out your basket, you actually start to realize that you're moving closer to the stuff you actually want to wear. And interestingly, he bought what was in his basket.
Wow, no, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Really powerful.
He bought it, and you could see in him the energy shift as well. So he's on TikTok as well, and he'd done some TikTok videos. And when you compared them, because I'm big on really seeing a person in their content, you could see the shift between when he was showing up in jeans and t-shirt and the new outfits that he bought. You could see the energy. You could see almost like the body language different. You could see the confidence had gone up and how comfortable he felt. And it was great. It was great to see.
So that actually reminds me of a long time ago in the 80s, actually, 90s, it was really sort of embedded into cultural society that the suits, and the women can wear suits too. Although when the men wore dresses, they were ridiculed, which was a bit unfair, really, because that's very one-sided. At work, it's appropriate. There's the cultural social norms. So, I would say probably there was a point in about late 90s, early 2000s, when I started out doing more business, and I was a social worker at the time. There was like a sort of a protocol of what you should and shouldn't wear for obvious reasons. When I started doing my own thing, I felt that I needed to step into the expectations of a role, which meant I would be to wear suits, like not a full suits or a jacket or what have you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I hated it. I felt so... I hated it. It felt clunky. I've had a problem with shirts ever since. I've never really liked wear shirts. There's any certain style I wear, like this one. I quite like it because it doesn't have any buttons and it doesn't have a collar. And it's got sleeves to sort of here. They're 3/4 length, so I've got my wrist free. So, I didn't even consider at the time finding a suit that would suit me. I just thought it was the suit that made me, and this is what I thought it made me look more professional, which it probably did. That's a given. But I thought it also made me look like, and I'm going to say this with air quotes, folks, a better person for what I was doing, right? Now, it's not necessarily because I didn't feel good enough to do my role, felt very confident in my role, but I just thought it made me look better because people do judge. Yeah. And I also went through a similar period of time where I was really, really low. And I've always equated, and I had to recognise that I had equated the judgment of looks, of how we look, it equals whether or not you're good at your role, your knowledge, your intelligence. Now, I know that not to be true, Becky. I know that isn't true. It's ridiculous. But it's also not ridiculous because, let's face it, we all do make a judgment, don't we? If somebody came round to fix the boiler and they were dressed in a suit and a skirt or had high heels on and they had clatter in the loft, you would think they are not. I would have doubts about whether they were the right person to do the job. And so therefore, I know that's a really obvious one. But it's the subtleties, the subtle nuances and the bias behind it, didn't it? So I went through a real dark time. I wasn't, not when I say dark, I don't mean it was so much depressed, because having ADHD, you just have sort of ups and downs. It's not like a depression so much. It's more like you're stuck, aren't you? You're just in a fog. And I didn't want to go outside because I didn't want to offend anyone by what I looked like. That's harsh, isn't it? I look back on that person and I could cry for her, and but there's still a residue which has pulled through in my life. Now, whether or not it's from social norms, beliefs, values, childhood things, I know that to be ridiculous, but at the same time, it's still there. So if I rock up somewhere, for me to step into my confidence, I have to make sure that I feel and look appropriate. Now, obviously, that's eased as I've got older, but that's the sort of deep issues that you're dealing with and working with people every day, isn't it? And I don't think I'm typical, am I, for having that?
No, you're not. You're certainly not alone. And thank you for what you're sharing about your past. I've also been there as well. And obviously being a woman that has multiple children, I had gone through a stage of dressing down, tying my hair up in a mum bun, and not really making an effort. And looking back now, I could see how that really, the way that you are taking care of yourself, what you're dressing your body in, is intrinsically connected to how you see yourself, the identity that you have in that current moment. So we end up doing things that conform to a particular role. So like you said, with the social work, wearing the suit, because that's the link that humans make. We think the suit means power, authority, seriousness, that we mean business. It also has the kind of negative connotations around that as well. With wearing a power suit, is that you're uptight or you're obnoxious and arrogant.
Good point.
I
want that tight.
No, I certainly wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't apply that one to you. But it's also the same where tattoos, for example, and piercings. So I have tattoos, I have piercings. And the way back when, I struggled to get interviews anywhere because I had piercings and I had tattoos. So it didn't matter. It was irrelevant. My wisdom, my experience, my expertise, all of that was completely irrelevant because the way that I looked didn't look professional, didn't look serious, wasn't attributed to what they would see as ideal for that role. So almost immediately I'd be disqualified. So
it's harsh.
Confidence absolutely is linked to how you go into the world, like externally. So confidence isn't just an internal thing, it's double. It's external and it's internal. So I want to share, if that's okay, I want to share something that maybe some of you in the audience haven't heard of, but when when you hear it, and you'll be able to take this away and try it out for yourself. There is something called the Batman effect.
Oh, can you say that again?
The Batman effect. So like the superhero Batman.
Wow.
So the Batman effect. I'll quickly go through how it came to be.
Yeah.
So the Batman effect was a study that was conducted with university students. There was 2 control groups. One group had to take a test wearing whatever they wanted, and another group got to take the test wearing a lab coat and like stethoscope and things like that. And they conducted this test, and they compared the results from both groups. And what they found was the people wearing the lab coats and the equipment performed better on their test than the group that were wearing the clothes that they chose to. Now, here's the Batman effect. The Batman effect, it was because once they put on that white coat, which we know a white coat is attributed to doctors, professors, people that we would hold in high esteem, important people who know their shit, right? So what was happening is the moment that they were putting on that coat, they were stepping into, even if temporarily, they were stepping into that identity of somebody who's important.
That's persona.
You know, so it's almost like they're embodying the energy that would bring, how they would feel. So the same way when women try on a wedding dress, for example, it's not just about feeling beautiful. She's able to picture what that looks like when she's walking down the aisle. It brings with it this energy that you start to embody. So the Batman effect is almost like taking on a persona, which is interesting with how I got into cosplay. It's taking on a persona. So if you wanted to dress, say, if you wanted to feel really powerful, like dark feminine, or just like dark fantasy, and just really walk with that power, we think it takes an arrogance and an obnoxiousness to be able to do that. But actually, if you were then to go to your wardrobe and pick out a pair of trousers that look like leather and a tight-fitting top, and put a nice kind of biker jacket on, you'll connect that to what you would assume a woman who's maybe a dominatrix, into the dark feminine and all the rest of it, and really shows up with the whole don't give a shit attitude kind of thing. You would then start to connect that to parts of yourself that maybe you don't allow out every other day.
It's a good one. Yeah.
We actually, with the Batman effect, we actually have those qualities. We have access to that confidence. We have access to that power. We have access to almost being arrogant, walking with your head up and kind of like the world is your oyster. We have access to that. We have access to, tapping into those qualities and those attributes of who you are. It's just sometimes we need the external thing that gives us permission to tap into it. So that might be the outfit. It might
that
be the...
makes perfect sense. And it ties into what we were talking about earlier, where we test out our identity because we want to. So, when I was younger, having a rain mac and big boots and dressing like it almost gave the permission. We're always giving myself permission to act like a punk, right?
Yeah.
Punks, anarchy in the UK, and we did all the things. Now, I also had another side of me where I like to wear like flowy hippie skirts, right?
Yeah.
And I just liked that. But I can look back now and I can see that I preferred the way that I dressed, been able to step into something more confidence, because I had lower confidence at the time, and I wasn't fully confident, I don't know if I still am, in my femininity. Or, to put it another way, I connected femininity to being desirable by men, right? Now that it is a connection in a lot of people's brains, and I went through another phase, so like, of if I wanted to dress like that, or step into that side, then there were consequences, or you would get hit on too much, or you get picked on, and I didn't like that, because that is society, right?
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. And I didn't have the confidence necessarily. And I think even people who don't have the confidence, you know, we say we should better just dress and wander around and do what we like, which is true. You know, how dare somebody tell you don't look like a mum because you're wearing the wrong clothes? Okay. I would be saying, oh, have you met all my other friends who are mums?
Yeah.
You know, they look pretty much the same. And so that, to me, the negative side of the persona which was within me gets squashed.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? And I'm sure, and that's what happens. So, you know, you were talking about the guy who went online and bought some clothes. I think that's fantastic because it allows you to sort of see what you truly like. Like, I absolutely love wearing bright colours, love it. But I don't know. I love bright colours. I love bright coloured clothes, but I don't necessarily like wearing them myself because I don't like the energy of that colour.
Yeah.
And because to me, and the colour of an energy is it's like my surroundings. We decorate our houses. We paint things. We have pictures, paintings, all stuff, which is all us. It's deeply personal how that is, how we can express that, and it's familiar and it's comfortable, isn't it? So stepping outside of that, it's like, yeah, do you know what? I could strut with the rest and have a laugh, and I'm up for it again. But would I do it all the time? Would I? No, because I was thinking, I don't want to, but I'm trying to think, why don't I want to? I mean, I don't know why that is, but a number of reasons. But I guess this is all the type of deep work that you do in the discussions you have in the group work you do, isn't it? Women are able to actually go deeper. Obviously wouldn't necessarily do that here, unless it popped into my head, I would share it. But really going deeper into why, and quite a lot of the time, all I can think of is that the amount of negative response we've had almost justifies in our minds, well, we best not do that then.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a real question here. I'm not expecting you to have a magic answer, but how do we, because we can't just fix it, but how do we at least start to get to grips with that? Because it's highly personal, highly individual, isn't it? How do we get to grips with not wanting to show up in a certain way, not wanting to do something purely because we don't want to do it all the time, but we just know we just can't deal with the negativity? And I don't mean just, you've got to and I know you know that I don't mean everyone's got to do that, because it's a comfort zone for a reason. If we have more confidence in it, it.
So interestingly, I actually have I had two clients who were really struggling with the way that they wanted to show up, the way that they wanted to dress for themselves, the way that they wanted to show up for themselves. And I think we're going back maybe last year, even the year before, where they were really vulnerable in sharing that they just didn't like the way that they looked, the way that they perceived themselves, and how the world might perceive them if they wear the things they truly want to wear. And we dug into why that was, and it was often because of these societal statements that we hear, when it's even such as myself has heard the comments, mutton dressed as lamb, or we have the whole conversation that's going on social media at the minute with we won't get into the bear thing. I'm picking the tree. We won't get into that one, but we do, when we want to wear certain things straight away, we make that connection before ego has stepped in. So it's the ego that's going to step in and start saying, well, what will people think? What will people say? Yeah. So we typically choose something either from our wardrobe, or we buy something and we love the way that it looks and we can see ourselves in it. That's that emotional connection that you're making to it, that you really want to wear it. You can see yourself in it, and then ego is getting in the way. ego is then getting in the way of telling you, remember when you wore this thing and somebody said that thing. One of the tips that I've given previously is to go and find is we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have a lot of social media, is to go and find someone. It doesn't need to be a friend, it doesn't need to be anybody you know, but go and find someone who is dressing similar, who may have similar features to you, same colour hair, height, build, who is wearing the things that you want to wear, and just take some time in watching how they're showing up. Especially TikTok is one of the best places to find this, because you see,
totally agree. Yeah.
And just see how, go into the comments section where people are commenting on things. I bet you won't find very many negative comments that are cropping up for these people because they're choosing to own it. I think sometimes because I have another client as well, is one of the phrases, the amount of times that I have been stopped in public sometimes by complete strangers that have just said, I absolutely love your outfit and just the way that you rock it.
Oh, that's lovely.
So beautiful.
Probably me, actually. I do that all the time.
And, even I start to blush because it takes work. Yeah. It's not something that comes naturally to everybody. And I don't think it's meant to come natural. I think it's meant to be that deep work. It's meant to be that involvement. But one of the comments that came from somebody I'm quite close to was, I wish I had your confidence to wear what I want to wear. And that really got me, because I said, a lot of women are linking, as you said, confidence to their body, the way their body looks.
Yes, it's a real, it is. It's almost, I say, embedded, entrenched, deep in. Yeah. I'm going to go so far as to say the majority of women, and especially older women, because of the way that society has been, or even perhaps more for younger women, who have now got to deal with all the videos and everybody actually be able to see you more. So the pressure's on all round, I guess.
It is. So kind of what I said back to her was, it wasn't that I had the figure to be able to wear them. It was because I choose to wear what I want. And when I wear what I want and I feel comfortable in that and I feel excited and the energy is there, then the confidence and the body language shifts. So if you're wearing something like with the bright colours you was talking about, you didn't like the energy. When you aren't comfortable wearing something, it is going to show. It's going to show in your energy. It's going to show in not wanting to draw attention to yourself. And when you're wearing bright colours, that's going to happen. Not wanting people to look at you and see those bright colours, because then it's going to draw attention to the things that potentially you don't want people paying attention to. So when we think about it, when women are wearing like really low cut tops and you can see everything, no offense to the ladies that do, but it's going to draw attention to those assets, right?
Of course.
So we typically, we end up typically
anybody walking past, male, female, non-binary, whatever your gender, there are certain things that we are pre-programmed evolutionary to notice what attracts our attention.
It is. It's primal. It's a primal thing. Like with women looking at men's arms or shoulders or his six-pack or whatever. So we are pre-programmed to appreciate that. So the kind of conversation that I had with this lady was, it's not about what is going to deflect attention around what you're not comfortable with. But it's about owning how you feel in that outfit, doing something for yourself, despite what society tells you. There is a rebelliousness to it. And the more that you can do it, because this isn't something that's it's a quick fix, like the guy that bought all the clothes for himself and try. It's not a quick thing. It takes practice. It takes going through your wardrobe, putting some music on. So here's a tip for everybody. Here's a little bit of homework, and please do get back to Kate. Please do get back to Kate if you try it out and let me know how it goes.
Do let us know. We love a musical task.
Yeah. Create a playlist that is connected to how you want to feel. So if you want to feel powerful, if you want to feel confident, if you want to feel motivated, whatever it is that you're wanting to feel and you're wanting to dress accordingly, I want you to create a playlist. And then what we want you to do is go through your clothes, go through the things that are hidden at the back of the wardrobe that you bought and you haven't dared yourself to wear yet. You know, maybe you've got those really tight jeans, you know, that gives you the peachy bum. Whatever, go and spend a few hours on yourself, be with yourself, get it all out, lay it all out on the bed, play that playlist, put it on loud, obviously, if you can. Like, I can't always do that because there's always little ones napping. But
we have headphones, folks.
Well, yeah. Put that playlist on, listen to it, and then just give yourself, have your own fashion show for yourself. Have a mirror there.
Love that.
Don't avoid the uncomfortableness when you look in the mirror. Don't avoid when it's saying, oh, well, this looks ridiculous. Look at all the lumps and bumps, and I wish this was different. Don't start doing that. Allow yourself to sit with those thoughts that come up. Allow yourself to be comfortable, but create this into your own kind of fashion show with that music on, and just watch how you feel in each outfit. You will find something that hits that sweet spot. You'll find something where you feel absolutely incredible in. And when you can do that, do it some more. Then take it up a notch. Go to the shop in that outfit. Just 5 minutes. Spend 5 minutes out in that outfit, and then build that up, and you will find that people will notice your confidence in it rather than the outfit. Having your head up. If we're contracted, if our body language is like this and we're trying to hide, that's what people are going to see. They're going to see that uncomfortableness, and then that only confirms in your mind when they're looking, and they're looking maybe with what looks like concern. In your mind, you're going to read that as, they probably think I look stupid, or they probably think that this doesn't suit me.
Yes,
and then if you really want to push the boat out on this one, is one of the other things that is linked to confidence, identity, the way that we show up, the way we dress, how we express ourselves, is the ability to accept compliments. It is it's one of the simplest things, but it's one of the hardest things to do. And it's because of this conditioning in society, is we almost feel apologetic when somebody has given us a compliment.
We do.
This whole thing, I just put it in sale.
This is my goodness. Do you know, that is, we do, and we often see it out there, don't we? Social media all the time, or people joke about, no, the correct response is thank you. Yeah. And in our heads, we might be we might be saying thank you. We know it's the right. We've got through that bit, but we still don't necessarily believe it. And it's about digging even deeper. It's like, well, why? Because hang on a minute. And I love that. I love that what you said, because it really ties into my perspective of how I see our belief about ourselves, right? And I always like to ridiculize everything. And so somebody says to me, oh, you look great today. And I think, crikey, I didn't really do much to it. I didn't have to make an effort. So first of all,
qualifying it.
Yes. So first of all, I think to myself, oh, hang on a minute. Looking good only means effort. I didn't make effort, so therefore I don't look good. And I'm making those connections in my head in split second as that person's saying it, right? Now, what I have forgotten is this. That person, was not in my room when I was getting dressed or getting ready. Well, maybe they were. No, but let's just assume they haven't been there. They were not there. They've just seen me afterwards, met me afterwards, online, in an event, down the shop, wherever. Okay? So what I'm doing by not saying, oh, thank you, what I'm doing, if I'm just saying, oh, this old thing, by giving a flippant remark, I have literally just said, on a deep level to that person, without saying it, yeah, but your opinions don't matter. Your opinion means nothing. Your opinion is worthless.
You're also calling no liar.
Yeah, what does that say about the person? Because hang on a minute, if quite a few people also say that to you when you wear something and you think, oh, I don't know why they think that, it's just me, right? Maybe you just think to yourself, hang on a minute, it might not be everyone else. Am I saying everyone is absolutely wrong? Because the ridiculousness of this is, we are not right all the time.
Nope.
We are not right all the time. We are following along we're trying to justify ourselves being right. We're trying to find evidence that we're right. But when you actually look at it in a bigger perspective, are we then saying, right, well, if I'm right, that means everyone else is wrong? How can that possibly be? Because they are also, as an individual, confident in their own being right and an opinion. So big clash.
Just a little bit.
Exactly. And we've just insulted that person. Because actually it is a flashback. Because when I say, so you said you get compliments, and I love the fact that you get compliments about what you're wearing. I do that to people. If I see somebody with a nice pair of shoes or something, anything, I just say, oh my gosh, that's just beautiful. I have to actually say it, and I do. Why am I doing it? Firstly, well, I have ADHD and I tend to blurt stuff out anyway. So let's just go with that one. So I've stepped into the confidence of like, hey, do you know what? I'm going to, this is what I do. Why don't I use it for the power of good? Right? So I will blurt it out. But I love, now, here's why it's not truly a charitable a compliment. It's not truly altruistic. I'm also boosting my own dopamine and serotonin and feel good everything, because when they smile and go, oh, thank you, it makes me feel, oh, I've done something nice for somebody. Yeah. And it helps. And so I feel better. I am more likely to be, at least in the next few minutes, feeling a bit more positive, a bit more confident. That automatically makes me feel confident in any decisions or interactions that I'm having. So that's going to ripple onto somebody else. But also, so are they. So they're going to also when I've had a compliment, automatically I smile and I go, oh, and then somebody sees the smile. And it is, if I'm not suggesting people just walk down the road throwing out compliments and innately smiling at people, because that's when you might bring those white coats out, like you mentioned.
Sorry, there's
the ripple effect.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. It is that ripple effect that can change the entire trajectory, of someone's day. Somebody you give a compliment to could have woken up that morning in a really bleak pit of despair, and that one compliment can just change and turn around that day like you wouldn't believe. So one of the things that if you struggle to give compliments, because sometimes we don't know whether people are open to them anymore, because everything at the moment feels like somebody can take offense to it, somebody can add a narrative to it to where it's judgmental or it's discrimination in some way. So we are actually filtering and censoring ourselves so much. So I love that you see something and you have to say it and you're appreciative. And for some, maybe it's a case of appreciating something that they would like to wear but think that they can't get away with wearing it. So actually it appeases something in them seeing somebody else wear it. So if giving compliments is a real difficulty for anyone, is just going about your day and smiling at someone and saying good morning, or if they step aside, if the path is a little bit narrow, I make a real big point of doing this. If the path is too narrow and they step out to let you through, it's just smiling and saying thank you, or having a quick chit chat with the women at the tills on the supermarket when you're shopping. That can really start to build up that confidence. And it all comes back to everything we've talked about, about clothing and style and identity and energy, all comes back down to having confidence to be seen.
100%. And it sort of brings us nicely round to sort of where we started. And I just want to share that when I had a burnout quite a few years ago, I've talked about this, quite often, and I just needed to do something where I didn't have to think. Boy, was I wrong about how much thinking I had to do, because I decided literally within the space of a weekend to apply for a job as a bus driver in Oxford, and I did. I got the job and I was trained to drive double-decker buses. And I was there for quite some time, and it was in a phenomenal, completely different environment. And you needed to do a lot of thinking, I'm going to have to say, but it was a different type of thinking. I didn't have to take it home with me after I'd done the tests. The thing is this, during that time, I had to wear a uniform, right? I had to wear a uniform, and I had to be very precise, very exact. We had to stay smart. We were representing the company. And quite rightly, you wouldn't want to jump on a bus and see a bus driver with egg stains or food stains all down them. It's just not a good look. I mean, maybe in the olden day, but customer service, presentation, it's very, an image is incredibly important. So inside me, I wanted to be the best bus driver. Now, I'm not sure I was 100% the actual best bus driver, but so that, there were far better drivers than me, been there many, many years. But, I did my job. But I started to, without realising, because I just accepted this was it, I didn't have an image to represent. I was sitting there thinking, oh, I'm just a bus driver, just driving along, doing my job. Right, now, there's nothing just about a bus driver. I tell you what they have to go through. Topic for another day.
Yeah.
Grueling, I'm telling you. But anyway, I wanted to think, what's the best way I can do my job a lot of hours and enjoy it? I love driving, I love people. Hey, this is really cool. I really loved doing that job. And I started to build a reputation. If people would come on, and I would always smile and always welcome, because I'm like that anyway.
Yeah.
And people used to come on and talk to me and get to know me. And I realized after a while, I had some awards for customer service. But people always often used to, people often used to come up to me and say, oh, I'm glad you're driving today. You're great. You're always happy. Or I had a reputation. And all I was doing was being myself. And I think by wearing that uniform, I was able to just be me, because for me to have a positive interaction with people, I had to be me. I wasn't in a position to tell them a funny story and make myself sound funny. I wasn't in a position to give them lots of knowledge and advice. No. All I was able to do was greet them on, give them a ticket, ask them, help them with any problems, directions, and then let them off. That was it. That was the limitation of the conversations.
Yeah.
And I noticed some people, if I had an empty bus, some people come and sit at the front and start to try and talk to me when you're driving. And you have to be very careful about that. But people used to like the energy I think I brought. I'm sure of it. And it taught me a valuable lesson, because it made me realise that it had nothing to do with how I looked. Absolutely nothing to do with how I looked, because I always look smart, as smart as you can in a bus driver's uniform, right? And I always made sure, my hair was clean, tidy, I looked presentable, because I took pride in my job of representing the company, and I wanted to just, be there. I didn't wear makeup every day. Sometimes I did. It wasn't an issue. I could be no makeup at all, hair just pulled back. Nobody cared. The driver didn't have to impress anyone. And it taught me that valuable lesson that people liked me. Not that I didn't think they might do, but it was almost like I did need that. Like you said at the very start of our conversation, our chat today, it's the external validation. And it is about, when you're just walking down the road getting a compliment, there may be few and far between, so it might not be enough external validation. So perhaps we can harness the power of that somewhere, be with other people who do appreciate it, know that not everybody is going to like your style, so just deal with it. I certainly don't like everyone's style. I could be quite critical and judgmental. I don't think they should be wearing it, but it's just like, the clashes in my mind. Not that I think it looks horrible, but it's still a judgment, isn't it? So that taught me a very valuable lesson, so even though I still, I say I'm going to an event, I want to look nice, I don't want to look big, I don't want to look stupid, I don't want to look, ugly, I don't want to look anything negative.
Yeah.
You said a little while ago, take it right back to how do you want to feel? That's what you said. That, I think, is one of the most powerful things that we can pass on to people today. How do you want to feel? I truly, if I had to strip back absolutely everything, I want people to see me for being knowledgeable in what I'm meant to be doing, therefore. I want them to see me as kind, compassionate, funny, all those things. That's got nothing to do with what I'm wearing. When I actually look at that, I go, well, actually, that's got nothing to do with what I'm wearing. So unless you are a clothes styler and you want people to look at you and go, oh, she knows her job, most people aren't. That is what you were talking about earlier, isn't it? That's the real big message that we can give everyone, isn't it?
It is. And to kind of finish off on something even more powerful is what you are wearing is not what gives you the permission to be who you want to be or not.
Oh,
So, like you were saying,
yeah.
I want to go to this event, and almost like if we're dressing accordingly, the way, like appropriately for that event, whereas if we went in our pajamas, for example, then if we're wearing pajamas, then somehow that bars us from being seen as compassionate, knowledgeable, kind. It's the permission you're giving yourself to still showcase who you are and what you bring to the table, regardless of what you're wearing. But ultimately, that what you are wearing needs to be your decision in how you want to feel. So it's just remembering that it's not, the clothing does not give you the permission to be who you want to be. Your clothing is a thing.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm so glad you said that, because the event that we're going to is actually run by Sandra Garlick, MBE. She's an amazing woman, and I'm a speaker at the event. And one of the first things she's given advice to people and told people about going to the event ceremony and speaking, she just said, listen, you rock up how you want, you rock up how you feel comfortable. If you can only do this and be visible and do this in your pajamas or wearing old boots, she said, just do that. We just need you here. And I have to say, she's one of the only women I've ever heard say that about an event, because obviously there is an expectation we would dress appropriately because we respect her, we respect the whole position, and we want to feel part of it. But I do know that if I was to turn up in my pajamas and said, you know what, I this is the only way I can be here today, she wouldn't bat an eyelid. She absolutely wouldn't. And we need more women like her. We need more women like you. Hopefully everybody would like more women like me, but I have had several people saying,
plenty.
people saying, oh my God, Kate, but if you did clone yourself, oh, goodness knows what would happen to the world.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you did rock up in your pajamas, the fear would tell you, the uncomfortableness would tell you that, you know, people are going to judge, people are going to think things, when actually it's more than likely the thing that they're thinking is, oh my God, I wish I'd have just worn my pajamas instead of this suit.
Yes.
They would be internally applauding the audacity to turn up into an event in your pajamas because they don't feel like they can do it. It requires somebody to go first, somebody to lead the way, to make it okay.
Yes. Oh no, that is a lovely way. That's a lovely way of looking at it, Becky. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Valuable, powerful insights, some amazing thoughts, and you know what? It's a real big topic, isn't it? And I think what's come out of it is how, you know, it's not behind the scenes everybody saying just be who you want to be, do what you want to be, because do you know what? We have just proven over this conversation that we've had that it's not that easy, and you don't have to do that. But what we have to remember is that we have the power, and if we choose not to do something with it, which may be for our good right now, that's okay. Yeah. Because as you've said, we're going to feel differently in 2 months, 6 months, 5 months time if we allow ourselves to grow.
Exactly. And you know what?
We're going to be in the same position.
Absolutely. And you know what? When people say just be yourself, what if you don't know yourself?
Oh, as an ADHDer who's been masking very cleverly and happily, thank you very much, all these years, and now to find out I don't have to, it's like, oh dear. Yeah. Actually, no, I still do have to sometimes, just for myself. But it was a question of all the years gone by of it's you know, hashtag not your fault. It's not me. It is me. It's given me license to really have a look and go, well, who am I actually? Yeah. And because I've spent all my years, and I know other ADHDers have felt this, especially late diagnosed people have had it, you know, later. We've had such amazing managing coping strategies that have worked a lot of the time and then haven't. Yeah. But we learned within us that we are constantly being judged. So we have that additional layer of that. And now it's almost like being a child again. It's almost like being a teenager again, to be honest, of like, finding our identity again. Yeah, exactly, Becky. I know you get this. And so thank you so much for sharing everything. Please, everyone, go and find Becky. If you find out what she's doing, she's on all the platforms, especially go and have a look at her TikTok. Amazing messages over there. But you write a lot of things that really resonate with people in your posts over on Facebook too. So please go and find that. And even if you just, if one thing today or tomorrow resonates with you, do what Becky was talking about earlier. Share it, pass it on. We don't just have to compliment each other on what we look like. We can thank people for the knowledge they've brought us. We can thank somebody for doing something for us, for thanking somebody for sharing information. I think that's the crucial thing, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely is. And try out the homework and let Kate know how you got on.
Thanks, Becky. And thank you to everyone that's listening. Speak to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Behind the Strategy. I hope you enjoy listening to the next one. Please subscribe so you get notified of when that's published. And if you'd like to find out more, please pop over to thestrategysuccesslab.com. And please do share this with anyone who you think might need this today.